But secondly, we find here that faith often fails on our own. Faith often fails on our own. Reading verse 19, and her husband Joseph, being a just man. Now this word just, in some of your Bibles, might actually say righteous. Just and righteous, kind of the same idea. Diakos is the actual word for it. And it basically means it impels to act according to the law. It means I will act according to the law of God. I will do what the law says. Oftentimes we see this just man being that he wanted to do right by Mary, but really what this means is that he needed to do right by what the law said. And the law said that if you had a betrothed wife and she was unfaithful to you, you could not marry her. So Joseph has this problem. He's a just man on the one hand, but he's also a kind man. He's unwilling to put her to shame. We know that because they were considered to be married, if she had been unfaithful to him, then she also would have been guilty of committing adultery. And we know from reading John chapter 8 that the penalty for adultery was stoning. See, Joseph actually could have said, take Mary out and just stone her, kill her. That would have been actually the just, righteous thing to do according to the law. But he was unwilling to put her to shame, and so he resolved to divorce her quietly. He had an option. He could simply get 2 other witnesses to sign a divorce decree. The man could do it. The woman couldn't. In that day and age, that was how it happened. And he could simply have separated away from her. Faith often fails on our own. We can't get there by ourselves. And I'm sure that Joseph had heard Mary's story, that Mary had told him, although it's not recorded anywhere, Joseph, I've been with no other men. I had an angel come to me and tell me that this was going to happen. This baby is God's baby. I can't explain it to you, but I know it happened. The evidence is in me. And Joseph, of course, just couldn't believe it. Couldn't accept it. Jesus tells us in Matthew 18 that where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am among them. There is a faith that comes together. There is a faith strengthening that happens when the 20 of us are together on this Sunday morning, because Jesus is among us. The writer of Proverbs gives us this wisdom, that whoever trusts in his own mind is a fool, but he who walks in wisdom will be delivered. In other words, there is an aspect of our faith that cannot be just by ourselves. We cannot be an island. We must share our faith with one another. We must encourage one another as believers, as Christ followers. We must also realize that those who are yet to come to faith, those who really don't believe this central core aspect of Christianity, that Mary was a virgin, might get there through you, through your faith, but probably not on their own. And then we got this beginning verse in 20, beginning part of the verse in 20. But as he considered these things, as Joseph considered these things. Can you imagine Joseph just sitting down and thinking this through? He's trying to think this through. He knows Mary. He knows her character. Knows her to be faithful. Knows her to be an Israelite above reproach. It's hard for us to imagine, but, Mary was probably only somewhere in the age 12 to 14. At most 16 years of age. Joseph probably a little bit older, but probably no older than 20. And he's sitting here thinking, I probably have known Mary all of my life. I remember when she was born. I was a little kid. Families were very close. I just can't believe that Mary would do this. In fact, I don't believe it. She says that an angel told her that God would conceive. But who's ever heard of that? And can you see? I mean, he's trying to logically connect the dots in his own mind, trying desperately to think his way through to the solution. And that gives us our third point, that we usually cannot think our way through to faith. We cannot think our way to faith. Now, don't get me wrong. I love our Christian faith. It is a thinking man's faith. The more I study and the more I look, the more I learn, the more I go to school, the more I see that there are 2,000 years worth of intellectuals who have thought through almost every aspect of our faith. It is not an easy thing. So don't think that there's a laziness to faith. There is every much a requirement on all of our part to think about our faith. All I'm saying is that there are aspects of our faith that we cannot connect the dots on. I can't grasp hold of the fact that at one time in all of history, and only once, did a woman, never been with a man before, who is a virgin, conceive and bear a child. I can't find any evidence for it, logically. I can't scientifically prove it. I can't think my way through it. But I absolutely believe it to be true. And more to the point, have a faith to believe that it's true. The writer of Hebrews tells us that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. In other words, there is a convictionness of faith. There is not only do I believe it, but I base my life upon it.